Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple podcast for men with me, Bryce Bauer. Today, I'm going to be talking about the role our phones play in our relationships. I get asked questions like this quite a bit. Should we share our passwords with each other? Should we be able to go through our partner's phones if we're curious? How do we work with and talk about our anxiety if we think our partner is hiding a text or a phone call or messages or what they've been looking at on the internet or social media? And these are all really important questions because phones are a huge part of most of our lives. The first idea that I want to introduce to you is that our phones are really like our brains. They are data storage centers. They will show us what we've been thinking about, what we've been looking at. They're both tools for communication. It's a way that we can manage relationships. They really are very similar. The main difference is that no one can really get inside of our head and look around, but you can do that with a phone. And that can feel really scary to some people, just on a privacy level. There's so much that goes on inside our brains that we don't want to share with people, whether that's because it's kind of vulnerable or we think it might be upsetting to people. And we have the ability to manage that with our brains, but someone could learn a lot about us just by going through our phones. And so I understand the resistance that some people have to sharing that. But I think there's one very clear dividing line as far as the information goes, and that is the difference between dishonesty and honesty. It's one thing to feel nervous about someone going through your phone because they'll realize that you're actually really nervous all the time about getting cancer, or you spend a ton of time watching cute animal videos. It's embarrassing how much time you spent doing that. But if you're hiding conversations that you're having with other people, flirting or making romantic connections, or following models on Instagram and liking their pictures and commenting, and your partner has no idea that you're doing that, that's a different reason to be hiding it. So I just want to make that distinction. If you don't want your partner to have access to your phone, is it because you're really hiding something that you know is not okay and that would make them feel really insecure or lose trust in the relationship? Or are you nervous to share because you might feel a little bit embarrassed to see how much time you're spending on your phone and doing what? But it wouldn't really rock the security of the relationship. And for guys, it usually cuts one way because a high percentage of men watch pornography and they also hide it from their partners. Even if a woman generally understands that their man watches porn, they often don't talk about it. They don't talk about how often they watch, how long they watch, and what they watch. And so men can get really uptight about having their partner have access to their phones because they don't want to share that information. Another hot topic with phone access is also finances. Some couples don't really know what each other are spending money on or how much money they have, especially in a traditional relationship where the man works and the woman takes care of the kids and doesn't work. And it's not to say that everyone should care about this, because some people don't. If you know there's enough money coming in and you can pay the bills and you can basically spend money how you want, at least small purchases, maybe you don't care. I do feel concerned when only one partner has access to accounts and the other can't even see what's happening if they wanted to. Personally, I think it's important that both people have access to the information if you have shared finances, because I've seen things happen. I had a client not long ago that was making really poor financial decisions, taking out loans to pay off other loans, going into debt. And when things didn't work out, he had to go to his wife and come clean with her and say, yeah, I really fucked up. We are now in a good amount of debt. And for her, that was probably just as damaging as if he had had an affair with somebody. It was a huge betrayal and it really impacted their lives. So I just want to plant that flag, because if you are in a committed relationship or a marriage, I think the only way that you create real practical security is to give each other access to information in all the relevant areas. And if you feel a lot of resistance to this as a man, that doesn't help your partner trust you. Naturally, it's going to make them suspicious and curious and maybe feel insecure. And on a personal note, Jenny and I have access to all of each other's information. And it's not like we even planned this out or had a big talk about it. It happened naturally long ago. I think she needed to get into my phone to see something, and I gave her the passcode because I wasn't worried about it. And she had been on my phone before, but I had nothing to hide. So there was no reason to feel anxious or feel resistant and not give it to her, and vice versa for her. At some point, I needed to get on her phone for something, or I wanted to, and I have her passcode. Granted, we haven't had any big betrayals in our relationship, and we haven't given each other reasons to doubt each other. So as far as I know, she's never gone through my phone and looked through my messages. But even if she did, I wouldn't care. In fact, I think I'd feel proud that you can go through my messages and you're not going to see anything you don't like, or my search history. Now, I might feel a little bit embarrassed if she were to see how much time I play chess on my phone, or how often I watch YouTube videos about crime or war or just random stuff, but it wouldn't be an issue. And I don't feel the need to go through her phone because I trust her. It doesn't really feel worth my time. But I realize that not everyone is in that situation. So let's talk about what to do if you are feeling suspicious. The first thing to think about is, do I have real reasons to feel suspicious? Objective data. Do they sometimes hide their phone from me whenever I catch them looking at it? Does their story about where they were or who they were with not really make sense? Do they go on work trips and not really have much to share when they come back? And I know some of this could seem subjective because you also want to trust your gut. But the point is to first get clear on your reasons so that you can share that with them and you can both go through the checklist. Because it's also possible that you just deal with a lot of relationship anxiety and you have a fear of abandonment, and that is magnifying some of the stories that you have in your head. Now, a partner who really knows how to listen and have empathy is going to get where you're coming from either way. But what you don't want to do is get into a pattern of not asking questions, not sharing how you're really feeling, letting that anxiety or resentment build, bottling it up until maybe one day you do explode, or you're constantly digging at your partner, but not being honest about what you really want to know, and then being defensive or getting upset with you and just going round and around without addressing the core issue. I tell this to people all the time. It is okay to ask questions. Yes, you do not want to turn it into an interrogation, and that comes from the energy that you bring and the speed and pacing of your questions. But it should be okay to ask questions in a relationship about anything. And as the question asker, you want your questions to be direct. Are you talking to anyone else right now? I saw a message come through on your phone and I didn't recognize the number. It seems like you've been talking with that person. Will you tell me who they are and what you're talking about? That's fine. We need to let go of the story that this is too nosy or we're invading our partner's privacy. This is our most important relationship. We have to have a high level of trust, and it's okay to feel insecure, even if your questions come from that place. And coming back to the direct question advice, a more vague question would be, do you even love me? Or something like that. The reason why I don't like that question is because it's probably coming from insecurity and you really want to know something, but instead of asking about that thing, you ask about something that isn't going to give you the information that you really want. Even if they say, yes, I love you, you still might want to know who they're talking to, or if they're talking to someone, or if they watch porn. And I realize I'm kind of speaking from the women's perspective now. As a man, if you want to build trust, my advice to you would be to be transparent, not only about who you're with and what you're doing, but also what you're thinking about and how you really feel. And even if your partner has feelings about your feelings, this process of working through that, finding common ground and understanding, coming up with creative solutions to the problems, that's what really builds security. It isn't two people hiding from each other and only sharing the good sides or what you want the other to see. That actually starts to build more insecurity because we know there's more to people than just what we see. There's always something going on in the background. And phones are kind of a unique way to get some insight into that. So I'd suggest, especially if you're married, that you do share passwords with each other. If you don't have anything to hide, it shouldn't be a problem. And sure, if your partner wants to go through your phone every single day, you might want to get some support. There's obviously not much security there, or they're really anxious. But something's going on that seems over the top to me. And I know this can get tricky if you're early on in a relationship. I have a client right now who's in a new relationship and his current partner is still somewhat connected to their ex because he owes her money. And I know he's trying to figure out how to ask about that. He's really worried that maybe he would get cheated on by anybody, not her. There's not really objective evidence to show that that's happening. But I've been encouraging him to ask more questions. How often does he reach out to you? Do you reach out to him? Is he making payments to you? Do you think you're even going to get this money back? Do you just talk about the money, or is there anything else that you guys talk about? Those are all valid questions. And to sit there stressed out about it and feel like you can't ask those questions, that sucks. This is a perfectly normal way to stress test your ability to do conflict with a new partner. And I don't have an exact timeline as to when you might share your passwords with each other. But I think by the time you move in together or get engaged, I mean, that's when things are getting more serious. So what I hope you take away from this is that it's okay to ask questions. It's perfectly normal and advisable by me to share your phone's passwords with each other. And that it's also okay to go through your partner's phone with them so that you can have a shared reality around what's really happening. And Jenny and I have never had to do number three, but if you feel like you want to, so what? And if your partner wants to, it's only going to set off alarm bells if you get angry or you're resistant to that. And this is a good time to come clean if there's anything that you're hiding or don't want her to see. This can be a way to really level up your relationship. And it can feel better for you if you don't feel like you have to hide your phone all the time. You're afraid she's going to see a window that's open. And it might also give you accountability around your behavior. I know there are a lot of guys out there that go through Instagram, liking models' pictures and commenting. And it's just a huge waste of time and attention. And it doesn't feel good for your partner. So maybe it is good to have some accountability around that and to cut it out. And if you're struggling with these three things, you can always reach out for help. It is not easy to build trust with another person. And like I said, our phones are a lot like our minds. It's a good vulnerability practice to let people in. All right, well, that's all I got to say about that topic. If you want to know more about the services I offer, you can visit www.brycepower.com and also like, follow, share, and comment if you like what I have to say. Good luck out there. Peace.